Well, something rather bizarre and interesting, quite frankly, is happening with billionaire philanthropist and globalist Bill Gates. And I think you guys need to be aware of it because of everything that's going on. We know Donald Trump met recently with Bill Gates, I believe, at least 2 times, potentially 3. And Bill Gates then made an automatic U-turn against some of the funding that he has been giving to these radical left groups. And now he publishes a rather bizarre article on his Gates notes, and he just published it about 24 hours ago as of October 18th, the morning of October 18th, the making of this video. But either A, someone got to him, maybe somebody actually gave him a little bit of sense, because the guy has been on a tangent to destroy our country. And I believe he still is. I don't think for a second that he's on our side, by the way. And this is not the point of the video. And number 2, maybe he's lost a whole lot of money and the guy is trying to recoup some of it. One of the two, but ultimately I'll leave that for you to decide. But what the hell is going on? Well, before I dive in, just want to remind you, hit that subscribe button. Make sure you're still subscribed. YouTube has unfortunately unsubscribed a lot of people, but make sure you have that bell checked. Otherwise, you won't get anything at all. And by the way, hit that like button on this video. And also as a reminder, we're on Rumble under Restricted Public. Make sure you check us out there. But let's dive into Bill Gates' notes that he just published. Take a look at this. And it's headlined 3 Tough Truths About Climate. And you can see published as of about 19 hours ago. And here's what he says in this article. That's rather intriguing. He starts off with this. There's a doomsday view of climate change that goes like this. In a few decades, cataclysmic climate change will decimate civilization. The evidence is all around us. Just look at all the heat waves and storms caused by rising global temperatures. Nothing matters more than limiting the rise in temperature. Fortunately, for all of us, quote, this view is wrong. What? Although climate change will have serious consequences, particularly for people in the poorest countries, whatever, it will not lead to humanity's demise. People will be able to live and thrive in most places on Earth for the foreseeable future. Emission projections have gone down, and with the right policies and investments, innovation will allow us to drive emissions down much further. Unfortunately, the doomsday outlook is causing much of the climate community to focus too much on near-term emission goals, and it's diverting resources from the most effective things we should be doing to improve life in a warming world. It's not too late to adopt a different view and adjust our strategies for dealing with climate change. Next month's global climate in Brazil, known as COP30, is an excellent place to begin. So Bill Gates, who has been preaching doom and gloom about the climate, now says, well, we're not all going to die, and that the view that cataclysmic climate change is going to decimate civilization, well, that's wrong. Wait till you see what he said in the past. But anyway, let's continue on this. Before I even get into that, he goes on. Our chief goal should be to prevent suffering, particularly for those in the toughest conditions who live in the world's poorest countries. Although climate change will hurt poor people more than anyone else, whatever, for the vast majority of them, it will not be the only or even the biggest threat to their lives and welfare. The biggest problems are poverty and disease, just as they have always been. So now he's saying the biggest threats to mankind are poverty and disease, not climate change. Then he goes on to state the obvious about his footprint, right, on society, which a lot of people have an issue with that, Bill Gates. And he says, I know that some climate activists will disagree with me, call me a hypocrite because of my own carbon footprint, or see this as a sneaky way of arguing that we shouldn't take climate change seriously. Yeah, no joke. But to be clear, climate change is a very important problem. It needs to be solved along with other problems like malaria and malnutrition. Every 1/10 of a degree of heating that we prevent is hugely beneficial because a stable climate makes it easier to improve people's lives. He goes on to list the 3 truths. Climate change is a serious problem, but it's not going to be the end of civilization. Number 2, Temperature is not the best way to measure our progress on climate. And number 3, health and prosperity are the best defense against climate change. It seems he has done a total 180. Speaking of a total 180, let me show you some of the things that he said in the past to just prove my point. This is on the Harvard Gazette, and it was written back in February 24th, 2021, Losing Time Against Climate Disaster. And this is about Bill Gates' warning of environmental perils ahead and outlines a plan to treat them, which, by the way, helps benefit his pocket. But anyway, here's a direct quote from Mr. Gates. Avoiding a climate disaster will be one of the greatest challenges humans have ever taken on. Greater than landing on the moon, greater than eradicating smallpox, even greater than putting a computer on every desk. And here's another point that he makes. He goes, there are points at which when the corals die off, they don't come back, Gates said. There is acidifying of the ocean and the aqua ecosystems die off as the acid levels go up. As forest dries out, they are subject to both fires and infestations that kill all the trees. So you got a lot less trees. As the sea levels go up, the beaches go away. And by the way, if these elitists really believe that, they wouldn't be building their homes on the sea line, but they are. But he goes on to state this, without changes in global policies, it's going to be essentially unlivable at the equator by the end of the century, leading to the instability of hundreds of millions of people trying to get out of those regions where a lot of the world's population is, and particularly the poorest in the world. Wow. So, it sounds like climate change was an existential problem, at least back in 2021 for Bill Gates. And now, well, it's not so much of a catastrophe anymore, not as much as poverty and disease. This is the same guy, by the way, who helped fund blocking out the sun, or that's his intent. This is Daily Mail as a quick reminder. Bill Gates backed a plan to block the sun and reversed global warming. Yeah. By the way, you know what I really think is his motive behind this? Number one, as I stated earlier, Donald Trump met with him and he made a U-turn, at least on some of these progressive agencies that he was funding, Arabella being one of those, which sent a lot of money to these protests of these radical leftists that started to get violent in some cases, right? I think Donald Trump said, hey, if you continue to fund that, we're going to come after you. So he makes a U-turn. He's not coming on our side, folks. This is absolutely not what it's about. And the other thing you have to think about is Bill Gates has gotten a lot of heat over the past over his carbon footprint because he is one of the worst offenders. In fact, I put this up on Grok, right? And this was Grok Answer. I said, what's Bill Gates' carbon footprint? Just give me the facts, right? I don't want to hear how he has whatever, fill in the blank. But basically, this is his total, including investments annually per year. Here's in 2023. Over 6 million metric tons of CO2. Equivalent from lifestyles, his yachts, his jets, his homes, and equity stakes in high emission companies. This is part of the top 12 billionaires combined, 17 million tons, equivalent to about 2.1 million average homes. So he is putting out CO2 equivalent to 2.1 million average homes. Personally, in 2018, 7,492 metric tons of CO2, largely from his jets, his mansions, and seaplanes. This is about 500 times the average U.S. per person emission of 15 metric tons. So he is a worse offender by 500 times based off of his personal use. And you include the companies on that. We're talking about 2.1 million homes. I mean, gee. That's an awful lot. I think he's like, maybe I shouldn't take such a hard stance, because I'm one of the biggest offenders. So I think that's probably a motive. Not only that, but he's losing a little money. And here this is on Forbes. Bill Gates no longer ranks among America's top 10 richest people. No, he has gone down. Bill Gates was long known as the richest person in America starting in 1991. He ranked either first or second on the Forbes 400 list of the country's wealthiest people every year for nearly 3 decades. He fell below the number 2 spot in 2021. Now, for the first time in 34 years, this was written in 2025, by the way, so this is recent, Gates is not even in the top 10. He ranks number 14 on this year's Forbes 400, just behind Bloomberg LP co-founder Mike Bloomberg, and 1 spot ahead of the country's richest woman, Walmart heiress Alice Walton, right? And he still has, obviously, a massive fortune. Now, some contribute to that because back in May, he said, I'm going to give away 99% of my fortune to the Charity Gates Foundation, blah, 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 whatever. I could care less. Fact is, he's moving down the ladder. Now he's only number 14, went from 1 or number 2 to number 14. Tis what it is. And people are really upset with Bill Gates because of his carbon footprint. He is such a hypocrite. And so now he's like changing his ways a little bit. Yeah. Fat chance of that. He's covering his ASS. Just saying. Anyhow, with all of that, I can't wait to read your thoughts, comments, and concerns on all of this. As a reminder, get to restrictedrepublic.com. We've got so much good information on there. You're really missing out if you're not there, and it's fairly cheap right now. You can get it for $5 per month. Use the coupon code Lisa and the number 5. I really hope to see you there. Justice Knight just put out an extended version of his video. You guys are going to want to see it. There's some of the videos that we just put up, but get on there, subscribe. It's commercial-free content, by the way, as well. But anyhow, with all of that, I love all of you. I'm Lisa Haven, signing out.